After the massive response to our last episode, this week we keep digging into a global crisis reshaping the workforce. AI wiping out entry-level jobs. Gen Zers are locked out of the labor market before they even get started. So what's the way forward?
I'm Giorgio Azzinnaro.
I'm Pena, and this is Bootstrap for Cash. Good morning, Giorgio. How are you doing?
Hey, Ivan. A bit tired. I'm in full content creator mode, and it's exhausting, but good.
Why are you tired? Tell us a bit about it.
Finally, yesterday I put out my first video on my personal YouTube channel.
Cool.
It took me a long time. Not the video itself. I think it took, I did it over a couple of days, in maximum maybe 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It took me months of thinking about it, and I found it exhausting, much more so than writing code as usual. So,
why do you think it took you so long?
Probably the overthinking. Same as our very first article on the blog. Yeah.
So if one of our listeners is thinking about creating their own channel, what would be your recommendation to start with it? Psychologically?
It's a good question. I think it depends a lot on how everyone works. For me, the old problem was, that was probably not the problem, but the way that I finally got myself moving was through a couple of tools, which is what I mentioned in the video.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up using AI as a way to unblock me. So I had my idea, and I threw this idea into a notebook LM and debated that a bit with the AI. And somehow that got the ball rolling. And then from that, I generated some other research with Gemini deep research. And from that, I got the ball rolling. And at that point, I had the momentum to actually get it done. So I think as usual, the recommendation, if you want to get anything done, is to actually start doing it. I once heard something like, action does not follow motivation. So it's not that by being motivated, then you act. It's the other way. You need to act. You need to start doing something, and then you will get the motivation out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's just as true for this as many other things.
I mean, I must say your first video doesn't look like a first video. It's quite professional for the first video standards, right? So probably that's why it took you so long. But this is not the recommendation you are giving to other listeners, right? They should just start, regardless the quality. So don't follow Giorgio's approach.
To be honest, I also didn't like many things about the quality of my video.
That was clear.
But I went on and published that anyway. So again, I think that depends a lot on what everyone knows and the tools they use. Obviously, it's not the first video I edit either, because I do that also for our podcast here. Mm-hmm. So it's not the first video I make in my life, but I finally made my personal YouTube account non-private.
Could you please mention what your partner, a professional content creator, told you about the video?
The main complaint was about my clothing. I didn't even bother ironing my shirt. Look matters a lot on YouTube.
So people out there that are thinking about creating your own YouTube channel, the most important advice to start with your YouTube channel is ironing your clothes. So on a side note, our last episode was super successful for our own standards, obviously. It was the most listened episode in one day from our history. Not the most listened so far in total. That was Sañudo's podcast. We are trying to dethrone you, Sañudo, but it's getting hard. But at least it got the record for one day, right? And many people gave us feedback. Thank you all for your feedback. It's appreciated. But it's incredible, Giorgio, that everybody is giving us feedback privately. but nobody's doing publicly. And I always asking everyone, like, please leave a comment somewhere. Exactly what you're telling me here. Just put it in a comment, wherever. I don't care about the platform. But people don't do it. And you know what I think? I was thinking about it yesterday, and it's like, people really think, and I was there as well, that by adding a comment on LinkedIn or other social network, they feel such an exposure that they think that thousands of people are going to read it and judge them, and then imposter syndrome kicks in, right? But at the end, if you are listening to this, please, guys, nobody gives a shit about it. Like, nobody's going to read you. You know, we are suffering every day to get heard ourselves on social media, and nobody's listening. So if you are contributing for one comment LinkedIn in months or even years, nobody's going to read it. The algorithm is not even going to promote it, right? I mean, maybe it could happen, but it's not going to happen. It's likely not to happen. So please, guys, express your opinions or feedback on the public.
Unless it's a very controversial opinion, I guess. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean...
No. I mean, a person that doesn't want to comment on LinkedIn, I don't think they were going to express a controversial matter, right? So, yeah, said that. Thank you guys for your feedback. Really appreciate it. But feel free to publish it so you help us grow. So, said that, let's go with AI. But let's start with some bad news. It seems that Stephen Preston, the CEO of a company called Goodwill Industries International, which is basically providing job training and employment placement services in the US, he warned that automation and AI advancements are threatening many entry-level positions. Entry-level positions are those that new people joining the labor market are getting to, get to speed, learn about their own stuff and so on. So when you were 18 or so, that was your first job was that entry-level position. But these are being highly automated with AI. So now we have a blocker there, right? Like Generation Z and new generations are not able to join the labor market and gain experience because AI is already automating those jobs. And this is increasing day by day. So it's really a critical situation, because if new joiners cannot learn that experience, what are they going to do, right? And this is, Preston is also arguing that this is not a future crisis, this is happening already today. What do you think, Giorgio, here? What would be a solution for those people in your generation to join the labor market? Would be maybe entrepreneurship a solution?
That's also a good option. And I guess a lot of it is, a lot of it depends on what you're training for. I mean, when they say those entry-level positions are no longer relevant because they're automated, but usually the workforce would use those positions to learn about something else. I'm just thinking they will probably come in at a different level. Maybe new entry-level positions will be interacting with this AI, which is doing whatever job that is being automated, and they will learn from there. So those people will learn from there. I think what is actually happening maybe is just that they are realizing that automating a bunch of things away and already having a workforce, it is just easier not to hire more people. And of course it would be younger workers, like who could they more easily stop hiring? Or probably maybe it will be again a matter of training, a different type of training, so that when it comes to being hired initially, you already have skills that AI cannot replace. Maybe it's about managing the AI itself. So that could be a skill that you get exactly from new hires that your existing workforce is not trained for. So
one possibility is that they start interacting with AI to get used to it and learn best practices, so they can interact with those AIs still in their entry-level positions, right?
Yes, I would think that this entry-level position becomes more about interacting with this AI that is supposedly taking over their job. It's not necessarily taking over their job, but it's doing part of it. And it's not so different from expecting that probably 30 years ago, it was about expecting that a new worker would already know how to use a computer. Maybe it wasn't the case in the 80s, in the 90s, but then it became a core skill. You expected a new joiner to already know how to use a computer so that they could actually maybe learn their specific job. And now AI is probably doing the same.
It seems that this statement that the entry-level jobs are being stolen by AI is being confirmed by research done by the Deutsche Bank. And in this research, they show a plot divided by ages. So it seems that between 18 and 54 years old, around 1 out of 5 people are very concerned about losing their jobs towards AI, while people over 55, they are not concerned at all, but probably because they see quite in the near future the pension, so they don't have to care anymore.
I was going to say it's a very broad range, it seems.
But it seems that younger generations are more concerned about it, and the more you go up, it seems that it's less and less concern. But still, it's around a 20% for all of them. And then you see over 55, I think it's less than 15%. But yeah, it seems that people are very concerned in general that they might lose their job in the future because of AI. But it's normal, right? If many podcasts and content creators and economists and people out there, and even CEOs of the biggest companies are spreading this word, right, constantly in the news, then it's obvious, right? At the end, you create fear. But yeah, on top of that, we have Lufthansa joining all these companies doing layoffs, and they already plan a cut of 4,000 administrative jobs by 2030 in the next 5 years, right? And yeah, they want to boost efficiency through digitization and AI automation. And additionally, Accenture, my former employer, cuts over 11,000 jobs in 3 months to push for AI. And actually, they say the CEO, Julie Sweet, the new CEO of Accenture, outlines a plans to cut staff who are unable to reskill on artificial intelligence. So if you are going to join Accenture and you are not willing to learn about AI, or you have some skills about AI, you might not enter. And I remember actually Accenture was one of those entry-level jobs, especially for engineers. That was my first one as an engineer. And it was not that difficult to get in, right? But it's getting more complicated if you are not learning or willing to learn AI, right?
But see, this is what we were saying a minute ago. It's like, I think 10 years back, they would have told you, look, if you don't want to use a computer, there's no chance you can come work here. And it's about the same thing now. Like, so if you're not willing to understand how to use AI in your job, sorry, it's really hard to make that work.
But it seems that all these job cuts are not related to AI. And we found another report that we will leave in the description that only this year companies have announced more than 900,000 job cuts, the highest year to date since 2020, since COVID. And COVID was like 2 million. And they did a split of the different categories, and one is the biggest is the government sector. It seems that the Dodge actions from Elon Musk are affecting the labor market in the US, and more than 300,000 job cuts are happening in the government sector, including reductions on the federal workforce and its contractors. And another 200K are linked to the market and economic conditions, like this economic uncertainty. The CEOs are cutting budgets, right? And probably firing people in case something happens. Inflation, tariffs, and shifting demand across sectors.
I mean, I read some very interesting article just this morning. Apparently, if you don't take data centers into account, if you don't take the growth due to data centers into account for the year for the first half of 2025, the US GDP grew 0.1%. 0.1. It's like nothing. And this is not taking into account, let's say, AI as a whole, which would be, you could say that the productivity brought by AI also falls into the bucket. This is just taking into account the investment in data centers, all the infrastructure, and in the end, that's kind of scary, though, if you think about it, because it means, of course, it could mean that this increasing productivity is coming down the line, but if the GDP grew 0.1, it just we don't see that. We don't see where that is happening. So you can see all these layoffs could be a sign of that really the economy is not growing as it should, and we're just shifting all the attention with AI and putting all the money into infrastructure with the hope that at some point AI will bring all this increasing productivity. But it's not happening now. So it can't be as simple as that.
I think we are still in the transition phase where people are trying to figure out, at least in companies, they are trying to figure out what are the use cases, the core things that they want to automate with AI. Let's also keep in mind that AI is still not 100% reliable in general, right? Not all the models are like that. It depends on the use case, but LLMs that are the most used, GPT-5 right now is probably the most stable, no hallucinating model, and it's still hallucinating, right? They didn't reduce it to 100%. So I guess there are many critical sectors that you cannot even have a 1% of hallucinations, right? You need to have 0%.
But even for the others, at best, you can maybe improve a bit customer support, or you can make sales outreach a bit easier. You can lessen a bit the burden of assistance, but eventually this great increase in productivity is not going to come with the current technologies. Really, it's not. Maybe it's helping a bit when it comes to software engineering. Of course, we've seen that you can be a bit more efficient with software engineering, but there is clearly something else here happening. It's all these job cuts, and they're not justified by that increase in productivity, which is not happening.
Yeah, in a nutshell, the report says that around 20K job cuts are related to technical or technological updates in general, and 17K are attributed to AI, right? So in comparison with all the job cuts in the government, that's nothing, right? But yeah, moving on, San Francisco will allow police to deploy robots that can kill people. Don't be alarmed.
Okay.
So the supervisors in San Francisco, following a very emotional, charged debate, they voted to give the city police the ability to use potentially lethal remote-controlled robots in emergency situations, like, for instance, the ones that are being used now in the Ukrainian war.
Drones.
Drones. So like drones or something like that. The San Francisco Police Department said that they don't have pre-armed robots and they don't have any plans to arm robots with guns. But they could use robots equipped with explosive charges like drones. So if you are a very dangerous person and you're trying to rob a bank and kill all the people in the bank and so on, they might use a drone with explosives to go against you, right? To incapacitate you. So yeah, this is the kind of things that they're planning to use or might use.
It's scary.
It's a bit scary.
This is getting really scary. One end, because the definition of being a dangerous person is shifting a lot in the US right now. So
in general, in Europe, it's happening the same, right?
Yeah, this is quite scary on that side. And also the fact that, as I understand it, right now it's about, as you say, drones, so remotely controlled weapons, which have all sorts of ethical problems, but in the end there is some person making the decision. But I'm really scared about the day they decide, why don't we make this autonomous?
Yeah. Especially in San Francisco, right? Where cars are already driving alone, like from all these cars from Waymo, and I think Tesla is also doing it. So yeah, it's a matter of time that they do the same with police robots. Related to robots, Google released Gemini Robotics 1.5, which is basically a vision language action VLA model, which turns visual information and instructions into motor commands to perform a task. So it's basically an agentic Gemini-based multimodal model that allows robots to take action in the physical world and use digital tools like Google Search. We will leave a demo in the description because it's quite impressive. So you see in the demo, you see a robot packing for some woman because she's going to London or something like that. And then while the robot is putting in all the clothes in the luggage, she asks the robot, by the way, consider the weather in London. And then the robot searches on Google Search the weather in London for those days, and it says that it's raining. And the robot reacts to that automatically with no input other than that. And it says, yes, I'm going to pack also this umbrella for the rain. So it's kind of crazy. We will leave the demo in the description so you can see it because it's very, very interesting. At the same time, Google releases Gemini 0.5 computer use model, which is actually something we wanted to use for one of our products in the past, VideoGen. I think we talked about it. But this model is basically using Gemini 0.5 capabilities to power agents that can interact with user interfaces. So for instance, on mobile, if you want to book something, you can prompt Gemini to ask for the booking and the details, and Gemini will go automatically to interface in the mobile phone to do the booking for you with the different apps and so on. This is only available in preview via the API for now. But yeah, it's quite interesting if you want to do, like we wanted to do in the past, for instance, with VideoGen, which is automated testing for mobile applications. So these kind of things that could be very interesting. Then going to AI slopes. It seems every company now is trying to create their own AI slopes, social media. Meta released Vibes, a new feed in the Meta AI app to share AI video slopes, only AI video slopes, right? So now all the existing platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram are penalizing AI slopes in their platform. And now Meta releases a new social media platform to just promote AI video slopes.
Not 100% sure what the point of that is. Like, why would somebody willingly go and look through AI slope?
I don't know, but in TikTok, they're going viral, right? These famous cat videos with cats doing human stuff, they go viral, right?
Yeah, they do, right?
So I don't know. I don't know what is the intention. Maybe we should interview people about this. Like, do you watch AI slopes?
Of course, you could argue the same of TikTok in general, even before then. Like, what would push you to watch some randos dancing?
Yes.
I can't fathom that.
I have no idea. But yeah, anyway, it's a really waste of their GPUs, right? And also of all the gray matter that they hire for millions in the last months, right? Like, okay, we hire all these pros in AI to create a AI slope social media platform.
Hey, but this is driving the GDP increase. All those GPUs.
But OpenAI also released Sora 2, the new video model. It's quite impressive, but they released it with another social media platform for AI slopes. And the good thing about Sora 2 is that they have built-in audio with the video, like VO3. The video quality is quite good. And they have a really good prompt understanding. So you don't really need complex prompts to get what you want. It understands quite well what you are prompting. And with the Pro version, they can generate up to 14 seconds video, which is much more than the other video providers. You can also create your own avatar called Cameo with a really small sample of data, but it's only on iOS. I think they didn't release it to Android yet. And you basically, in the onboarding, you have to show your face, turn it a bit, and then say some numbers, random numbers with your voice, and that's it. With that, they can already create an avatar. You can use public avatars from other people in your videos, like Sam Altman. We did already our own try, and we published it on our social media. You can watch it if you want, promoting our podcast. Then another company created a new way of making money with AI. It's called Neon, and it's basically a new app that pays you 30 cents per minute every time you talk on the phone through this app. So whenever you are going to talk to someone by phone, you can use this app, and for every minute you will get 30 cents. They say that they use your transcribed phone conversations to sell it to third parties so they can train their own models on how humans interact via phone. And they anonymize all your data sharing the phone calls. And they don't record the other side of the conversation unless the other side is also Neon user. And it became, after releasing, they became the number 2 social app on the App Store. And it seems that some weeks ago, after the release, TechCrunch detected a security flaw by analyzing the traffic going in and out of the app. And they realized that they could access the audio files and transcript of other users of the app, which is a bit crazy. Luckily, they didn't release it in the Europe yet.
As if it wasn't dodgy enough.
But yeah, after reporting it, the company took down the app servers. But this is crazy, right? Then Anthropic released Claude Sonnet 4.5, which according to the SWE benchmark, the software engineers benchmark, beats GPT-5 codex. But at the end, it doesn't really matter if you choose one or the other. And at the end, I asked a couple of friends, and they were giving me different answers. One was saying, I keep using Claude because it's the one that I like, the one that I know how to prompt, and the one that I get better results. And the other one was saying, no, I'm staying with Codex and GPT-5. Because at the end, it's about more prompting, right, the model.
Yes.
Then another thing Anthropic released is Imagine with Claude, which is a new feature where creators can design their own apps without coding. But if you look at the demo that we will leave also in the description, they run like a virtual machine where you see your desktop. And then in a prompt, you can ask Claude to implement something, like a new software. And then instead of vibe coding it and run it and show it, they render it on the fly. So you see like how it's rendering the new software in the operating system. And people are claiming that this is the future, right? Like the no-code software design. But I see it quite inefficient, right, Giorgio?
It's hard to say, right? I mean, it's speeding. Everything is speeding up a lot. About the efficiency, I don't know. I think it's much more about the way you interact with the tool that it's going to be the latency. But yeah, it's true that even with coding, I think there is this idea that the bottleneck was never writing the code. It's more about thinking about the idea behind, and that's going to stay. So yeah, I think what is really missing still is everything that happened afterwards, after that initial concept phase.
Yeah, at the same time, Lovable is releasing Lovable Cloud and AI that handles complex AI and backend functionality automatically. And this is what we discussed in one of our podcasts with the guys, Mauro, Juan, and Marco, like to cover the whole end to end, right? From prompting what you want to achieve, the design, then implementation of the UI and backend and deployment, right?
But even then, even after you've deployed, there is so much more to running an app, to managing an app over time that, again, is not being tackled yet, at least. I'm not saying it cannot be done. It could be done, but there is so much about security and updates and monitoring that there is a lot of complexity that goes into managing an app over its lifetime. And it's always has been where most of the money was spent, even though it was not as noticeable. I think many companies don't do that properly. They think they can spend all their money. It's probably not even just with software, but it's not so much about creating the first thing. It's then about maintaining it. And that's where most of the money goes, where most of the resources should go. And we are now still at this phase now with AI, where we're putting so much effort into thinking of a million different ways to create this first prototype, which is really cool, but concretely is not really solving the problem behind making software, which is, again, maintaining software in the long run. That's where all the money goes. So I would be very interested when I see more stuff happening on that side. But again, it's less it's less surprising to look at
Mm-hmm.
if you're not in this business. So
Actually, this morning we were discussing how to move forward with live monetize, right? And we were discussing architectural designs and what products to use there. And I assume if you want to build something like live monetize with Lovable, I cannot imagine that Lovable will say, okay, then let's go to use Cloudflare Stream to cover the streaming platform part. And then let's use this other thing to embed here. And now I'm going to design the whole data model. So all these designs, I don't think Lovable can do that, right? Or maybe I'm wrong. But they claim that they can, that you don't need to care about the backend anymore. It's like Lovable creates the data model, deploys everything on Supabase, and it runs.
yes, but exactly that's exactly the point, right? If you're developing the simplest CRUD app that you need again for a very simple prototype, absolutely you can replace it this way. But it's been the same with all the other no-code tools that we have seen over time. This becomes just another no-code tool, and of course you could say, I'm just going to do YouTube I'm just going to remake YouTube with Lovable.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, of course you do. It looks like YouTube.
But not play the video.
That could be so you could have a bunch of technical issues, like for example, yes, how do you actually stream 4K video? And I'm not even talking about to millions of users, because obviously you say, I'm cloning YouTube. I know that I'm not going to have their scale at the beginning, but even if I just need to stream to 100 users and you want to stream 4K to 100 users, you will not match them in this way. You cannot do it. It's not that simple. Or you could have to think about moderation. How do you verify that the videos, that the content in the videos is what claims to be? And suddenly it's no longer a CRUD app. And for all these things, all those no-code tools are worthless.
Mm-hmm.
It's just on the surface that they look like something else, but they are not. So in the end, yes, they are very interesting, but there is so much more depth to software engineering. Everyone who claims the opposite, they're just either they're ignorant or they don't know what it actually means to build software at any scale, really, but software that can have certain features, or they know, but of course they just want to push their tools, so they've got a hammer and everything is a nail.
Mm-hmm. What I'm seeing is this trend that many people, non-IT people, are implementing their own workflows with tools like N8N and Make and so on. And they are selling those to customers, to actual companies, and they are making money with it. What do you think about that?
I'm sure if they're solving a problem, it makes sense that they make money out of it. So again, also there, I'm absolutely not. I wouldn't say I'm against that. It's great that we've got so much tooling out there, such powerful tools that anyone can figure out some ways to automate some workflows. I'm pretty sure, however, that some people are maybe buying something. So they were promised something and they're buying something which is not eventually what they claimed it was. So it's probably going the same with these workflows, with these tools. I'm pretty sure, at least in some cases, people are buying something and then it turns out doesn't really do what it was claimed, because it looks like that on the surface, but then in reality, it's actually lacking all the engineering it needs to perform certain actions. So
To finalize the AI section, OpenAI made a deal with NVIDIA, and they announced a strategic partnership to deploy 10 gigawatts of NVIDIA systems. So, to make clear the extent of this, a nuclear power plant produces 1 gigawatt. We are talking about 10 just for AI. So NVIDIA intends to invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI progressively as each gigawatt is deployed. And this deal is complementary to the 500 billion investment in AI infrastructure for the Stargate project between OpenAI, Oracle, Microsoft, and SoftBank and the US government. And in addition to the cloud deal of $300 billion between Oracle and OpenAI that we discussed in previous episodes. And the first gigawatt will be deployed in the second half of 2026, or that's at least the plan. Now the question is, where are we getting the energy to support all of this? Is it the right moment to invest in energy? Maybe. OpenAI is also looking for someone to oversee all the monetization efforts, I guess to pay all these bills, including bringing ads to ChatGPT. So if you thought that ChatGPT was going to be for free with no ads forever, you were wrong. Ads are coming also to ChatGPT and probably the other providers as well, because AI consumes a lot of energy, as you can see, and someone needs to pay it. And I guess investors are a bit tired of investing money in OpenAI and that they are not profitable, right? Another thing you might have seen in ChatGPT is that now, well, it's only in the US, but they release an instant checkout for users to find and buy products directly in ChatGPT through what they call the Agentic Commerce Protocol. They use this protocol, or they invented this protocol to connect to other e-commerce providers and also to Stripe. So you can just search for some product in ChatGPT, I don't know, do a comparison directly, like many people already do. And then they show you inline directly in the chat the different options, and you can click buy and pay for it directly in ChatGPT. But at the end, they're just connecting to these e-commerces, right? And they also release apps in ChatGPT, which is similar to connectors that we talked about already. And they're also using the protocol MCP to connect to them. So these apps are ways to reference different companies in your chat. So Booking.com, Canva, Coursera, or Spotify, for instance. So you search in ChatGPT, give me a list of songs for this kind of situation, and then play them in Spotify. And then this will react, and ChatGPT will open Spotify inside and play those songs directly there. Or you could say, I want to travel to Japan, please do a comparison and book a hotel for me that is cheap. And then it will do the research, and you can reference booking.com, and then it can book directly the room in ChatGPT. So it's quite powerful, and they release also an SDK, so you can implement your own app and integrate it with ChatGPT. Do we have a use case for this, Giorgio, for our products? Have you thought about it?
I did, actually. It was more around the agentic commerce protocol, and well, it's a pity that, I mean, right now you can only develop on that. At some point, hopefully, getting approved. I was hoping for live monetize to make it possible for people to look for, to put it, to link it to our services and other digital services that one could sell through live monetize and make it searchable through ChatGPT. So suddenly, if you go on ChatGPT and say, "Hey, I like to look for a reputable consulting service to help me move to Switzerland," then our merchants on live monetize could be published, and maybe we could have reviews and anything that you need to be found then on ChatGPT, and actually sell the service through that.
This can be quite powerful also for our merchants, right? So kind of like a advantage on top of our competitors, right? It's a pity that we made it public now here. But yeah, it's an interesting use case. And lastly, OpenAI also released an AgentKit, which includes an agent builder similar to N8N and Make, and also a way to integrate chat-based agents in your own platforms. So now all the buzzing going around about this new agent builder from OpenAI saying that they will just take or send bankrupt to N8N and Make is just, again, bullshit, because it's quite restricted. And you can only use models from OpenAI, right? So yeah, I don't know why they made it, because they sold it like, wow, we are doing now this, but it's not even competing with existing providers, right? People were expecting something more, like as a user, you could speak to ChatGPT and say, I need to build this. And then in the background, with this agent builder, they could do it automatically. But that didn't happen. And I'm not sure why, because it should be pretty easy to implement, right?
I think it's more about owning the building block for them, and then it's easy to add such features on top.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the interesting part here around all these AI models. I also think, yes, speech to text is going to be more and more prevalent. In fact, it may not even be speech to text, but it's speech to multimodal.
Mm-hmm.
So if it needs to output an image, it will go from speech to image, because in the end, speech tokens, audio tokens, can be processed the same way as any other token. I think Gemini is doing a lot of interesting work in that sense, but I think others are going to follow through at some point as well. But then it's about owning the building blocks. So I think with this, OpenAI is just trying to have the same. I think it's happening a bit the same is happening with all the other, for example, all the other cloud providers. It's also with AWS and Google and Azure. You could say they are just copying each other, but they all have solutions for queuing, for object storage, for GraphQL APIs and CDNs. So in the end, in a way, you need to end up having all the building blocks, and OpenAI is doing the same here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so that's it for AI this week. What about our updates, Giorgio? How are we doing with our products? Any plans there?
Yeah, now I want to explore this idea with Live Monetize, although it cannot be done yet with the agentic commerce protocol. But in general, we keep growing now. Live Monetize and DM replies, with this idea of making a platform again, also that they, in a way, they work together. They may become more integrated in the future, with the idea of making it easier for creators of all sorts to monetize end to end. So to go from having a lead magnet, getting DMs, so getting the being contacted by the users, and we also want to add more channels. We are thinking of how to support TikTok and YouTube. Also, depending on the way those platforms work, which is different from Instagram, which we already support, and then from there move their customers to the next stage, which is monetizing, which can be done in multiple ways. So today we already have got webinars in Live Monetize. We are thinking of adding what we call services, which are more like one-on-one meetings, consulting services, you could say. And then we also want to add other digital products. For example, videos, in a way that will help create online courses. So the knowledge that you share in one-on-one meetings or in webinars can then end up being something more structured, which is also more scalable. So uploading a set of videos and adding a paywall to that, or maybe having some free videos together with a paid course, can grow then in many directions, with AI generated quizzes, or some ways to interact with the course content through AI. We have many ideas. We just need to see where the feedback takes us.
And the priorities, because this is what we describe is a piece, right? We have already some competitors identified, and they are big products, those that you cannot implement with Lovable.
Yes, definitely.
So I don't know if at some point we really need to consider investment, external investment. Let's see. We would like not to ask for investment, but the product that we had in mind is getting bigger and bigger, and yeah, let's see where it goes. But yeah, if you're a content creator or thinking about it, and you would like to sell your digital products or your services, one-on-one services, consulting, and so on, please contact us, because we would love your feedback and we are looking for early adopters. Good. That's it for today. Giorgio, anything else?
I think that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And hear you next week.